Hey everyone, how you doing this morning? It's whoa, there's a lot of comments in here. Let's see who else in here. We've got 7 watching now, so up 6. So I mean, someone came in, saw they couldn't make a comment without subscribing and left. Well, hey, they want to be that way, they can be that way. Let me go. All right, so I scroll back to the top over here. Phelan Klein Wolf was first, then Troop 1351, then Crew 1351. And everyone's talking back and forth. Talking about, yeah, I see that too. With all the comments, I'm looking at the same. You guys have hardly any XP points for all the comments you make. Yeah, you should be up a couple hundred XP points. And then Lee Arden's in here too. All right, so go ahead and hide that comment. All right, so yesterday, after I got done working on it, I got an email from someone who I've been sending some of these off to. He's been reading the things and everything else. He said I need to add something, so that's what I was doing last night and this morning, and changing things around and reorganizing some of the stuff we did yesterday. And we chatted back and forth, and so with that, I'm adding a section in here, expanding upon doing the numbers here for some of the stuff's happening on the dates. Add another date assessment in there. There we go. Good. So let me pop this up here. So I'm just going to briefly scan over some of the changes, and then some of the heavy duty adding, you'll read that, and then we'll continue on. So we're going to go here. Boom, put me up there. So I added the second in, November 2nd, covering things off, breaking it up here. It's the second, so it's now the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 8th, 10th of things going on. So it's a little more showing how what's going on. It's getting kind of, it's busy. And so that's what it's going to do. So looking at the timeline, we were talking, and so I moved stuff talking about Danny and Sarah getting their rifle training started it a little bit earlier. Let me go back up here. One thing beforehand. Okay, that was yes, that was in there already about the presidential directive 00, or was it? No, AR 003. Added a little interaction of Chris and Walt after viewing it, and saying it was Sarah's request that her name not be used. We just call her Lightning Death and all the announcements and stuff. So Sarah does tell Walt about that Kathy has lined up a couple instructors for her and Danny. Then I added part of it in here. Walt, wasn't happy about her being away for so long. So she's going to be down there for, what does it say here, 7 to 10 days, depending on how well they do in the training. Walt's crinkled his brow up, and she goes, "Well, I come back I'll come back as much as I can at night, so I don't have to, depending on weather and stuff, what's going on." So Walt had, so I added this section here that you see here in. And so basically, Walt had her go with him to one of the supply barns. Inside, tucked behind a couple of cargo containers, was a vehicle covered with a light tarp. When he pulled it off, Sarah's jaw dropped. "I hope you like it." That's for me, she asked in shock as she stared at a multi-cam painted F450 crew cab pickup with a cab level shell on it. I got it last year. It has a bunch of special features for law enforcement, including a very special siren. He smiled and added, "Who you going to call?" Sarah squealed and launched herself at him. You'll find out what that is all about later. Actually, in chapter 3, but later near the end of chapter 3. So I added the second here. Kathy was working with Danny Rourke Ahern, and Master Sergeant Russell was working with Sarah with their Barrett M107A1s. Danny, who had gone hunting with her father a lot, was much better with the rifle. Sarah had shot five rounds. She sighed, put her head on the rifle, and said, "Master Sergeant Russell, I think I need to start off with something a bit lighter, like half the size." Master Sergeant Russell chuckled. "I think you're right. I have a 25 caliber Creedmoor and a 6.5 Creedmoor in the camo case," Danny said. "I'd start with the 25, less recoil." A couple seconds later, she fired her rifle. "Shit, I think we should have gone with the Barrett M99 in 416 instead of 50. Permission to clean and put my rifle away, Master Sergeant Russell," Sarah said with disappointment in her voice. "Permission granted," he said. Then get the 25 Creedmoor and we'll try that out." So Sarah, who is a whiz with pistols, is having a tough time with rifles. And Tukvavi's in here. Hey, good morning. And so, yeah, so this is all stuff I added since yesterday, going back and filling in what we went over yesterday a little bit. The second here is pumped up and added in here. So they're gonna try Sarah out on a lighter rifle. She's never shot rifles before, and so yeah, she's been a pistol person all her life. All right, Walt sat at his desk. This is where it gets intense now. Walt sat at his desk, reviewing the stack of reports. He was just reading the summary cover pages. 2 small groups of refugees in RVs and travel trailers. They were not, quote, groups per se, just happened to be heading north and banded together for protection from robbers and gangs. 3/4 of them were heading to different parts of Canada. Two families, F-A-M-I-L-I-E, 2 families were heading to New Meadows, and the rest to various locations in northern Idaho. Deputies escorted him through the county to New Meadows, where, hang on, I think, yeah, I accidentally boo-booed here. Hang on, sometimes I cheat and like I'll highlight something and instead of cut and move it, but it didn't work out right. There we go. Put that right up there. There. Sometimes I forget to hold the control down and it just drags it down instead of copying it down. Yeah, there we go. Deputies Daniel Green and Parker Lane escorted him through the county to New Madrid, where deputies, hang on here, get that period out of there, where Deputy Joss Judd and newly deputized Davis Queen, a former college district police officer from California, was stationed. They contacted the families that were hang on, let me put it. that the refugees were going to join up with and arrange a meeting. Their local families vouched for them and took them to their homes. There was one group of refugees heading south. There was one group of refugees heading south that, that was stopped in Pinehurst and was waiting for deputies to escort them to various towns in and out of the county. Pinehurst was a small unincorporated community 20 miles north of New Meadows. Just a mile north of Pinehurst, where U.S. Route 95 crossed the Little Salmon River from Idaho County, capitalized Idaho County, to the north into Adams County. Hang on, I need to get long and convoluted there, so I need to change that a little bit. Like I said, I just wrote this up last night. Well, I wrote some of it this morning, but mostly last night. Okay, the residents of Pinehurst had set up a roadblock on the bridge anchor point in Adams County. Josh Judd, Davis Queen, Daniel Green, and Lane Parker met and interviewed him. Two families were headed to McCall across the county line in Valley County to the east. One was going to his parents' place in Rubicon, 4.5 miles past New Meadows. Three families were heading to their grandparents' farm in Fruitvale, about 6 miles north of Council. One family was headed to their brother's place in Mesa, just north of Alpine, and the last two were heading to Midvale, about 8 miles south of Cambridge. Davis Queen escorted the two families to the Valley County line. Josh escorted the one that was going to his parents' place in Rubicon. Daniel Green and Lane Parker escorted the others, dropping them. Hang on, let me move it over here now. Dropping them off along the way to the Southern County line. Three mobile homes burnt during the night. All three had propane lamps and candles burning when the occupants went to bed. 6 deaths total. 2 fights at the Double A Saloon and Marston's Lounge. 3 heart attack deaths, 1 suicide, 2 dogs shot, 4 windows broken. And let me add this. So that's the report, part of the reports that Walt's reading over. Walt leaned back and rubbed his eyes with the heels of his hands. That bad, nephew? Elizabeth asked. Hang on. This is what I was writing this morning. The doorway of his office. Walt grunted as he leaned back forward. You have no ideas. He rubbed his temples. Hello, Lizzie. Elizabeth. What do you want me to call you? Elizabeth smiled. Since I'm starting over, how about just Liz? That sounds great, Walt smiled back. What can I do for you today, Liz? Dad said I need to get a job. and do my fair share for what I am getting. And I realized that I don't have any skills for this new world. She paused as she wrung her hands. I want to do something useful, but I don't know what to do. How did you make money before? I did investments in very high-end real estate sales, she said with a bit of pride that very quickly turned to sadness. But there's no need for that anymore. Not for a long time, Walt. Hang on. AG agreed grimly. Do you need any help? Like I said, I just wrote this up this morning. I didn't have a chance to proof it once myself after I wrote it. Do you need any help? She asked hopefully. Mom and Dad said you were working too hard and they were worried about you burning yourself out. Walt thought for a long moment before speaking. I'm not sure you're cut out for the dark side of what I could let you do. The paperwork is hard on the soul and not for the, hang on, and not for the soft in itself. Hang on, let me say, not for, oh, okay, hang on. And not for it in itself, but what it is about. It's hard to read and determine how much each it's hard to read and determine how each case needs to be categorized for response and disposition. Walt sighed heavily. And that's what I hate about it right now. All the deaths of people that won't listen and use common sense. It's not just their deaths, but the deaths of others due to their stupidity. It's the kids' deaths that drain the soul so much. Elizabeth's eyes widened. I never knew that being sheriff was so hard. So that's where I'm at right now. Got a little bit more writing to do, but first I'm going to drink of water here. All right. This is where I fit. This is where it gets tough writing up and trying to create stuff here. I always thought that was just a I always thought that being sheriff was just a political a political position. And all of the work was delegated to others. And let me correct that there. No, that's not right. Undo the L. Now, there we go. That's the correct spelling there. All right. Was delegated to others. Let's see. Let's, yes, I have a lot to about uh, real life. I knew about some of it from working with Randolph before he suckered me into running for his replacement. And but since since the Esther the game PUB public knowledge KNOLNO knowledge the on everyone has escalated the number of stupid actions and deaths. All said HEAD heavily. All right. Oh, we had someone come in here for a few seconds and jump right back out again. Oh, let's see what we've got here. All right, let me take a look-see here and see what the. All right. Of 5 votes, 3 for making everything start at 10 a.m. Eastern, which would have been an hour earlier, and 2 saying keep it as it is. So early on Saturday and Sunday, and later on Monday through Friday. All right. Just checking out the poll there. All right, let's see here. All right, let me think for a second. I'm going to have Walt suggest to his Aunt Elizabeth what she might be able to do. Okay. Because she's trying to be nicer, so he's trying to be nicer to her too. So for those that didn't catch the in the first book, oh man, yeah. She was, and even through the beginning of book 2, she was a bit of a witch. Or as Sarah liked to call her, the Beverly Hills bitch. All right. Uh, hmm. Uh, oh. Okay, so she goes, I see now that it's taken a couple, I have seen now how even in the last couple of weeks it has taken a drain on you. I just wish I had realized how hard this was going to get for uh, hang on, let me roll that scroll out, how that was going to get for us. Da, 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 da. How do I want to word this? Got to figure out how I want to word this. Basically, he's talking about he should have gotten stuff, tried hiring some extra deputies beforehand. For the of the staff. I should put out deputies when the news about the AS. Let me read it. I just wish that I had realized how hard this was going to get for the department and on all the staff. I should have put out openings for more deputies when the news first broke about the asteroid. Walt said. But hindsight is 20. Yeah, hindsight is 20/20. Well, um, I always have trouble spelling this right. Uh, uh, def, change little words sometimes. It's not defiantly. I don't want to do defiantly. I want to do definitely. Keeps trying to want to tell me to do defiantly. All right, time for me to go the other way, guys. Let me go over here. Okay. Yeah, that's what I did wrong. So I need to change that I there to I there and I there. There we go. I am definitely uh, qualified to be a deputy. I think that's good. IDE. Good idea. Okay. I'm definitely not qualified to be a deputy, but I thought that I might be able to help in the office. But now, hang on, I just put in there. Office. Hang on here. But now I don't think that would be that is a good idea. I'm not that STRO strong. I'm not that strong to deal with death and such issues. I didn't know that I didn't know a lot of people were dying. Well, just to warn you, it is going to get a lot worse for the next year. And that regards, this winter, when the snow hits, that is when we will get the big guy off of the unprepared. Walt breathed deeply through his nose and out. We at over EI 80 DYI. Okay, here we go. Of Walt's Elizabeth gasped and grabbed the. All right, so just to warn you, it's going to get a lot worse for the next year in that regards. This winter, when the snow hits, That is when we'll get the big die-off of the unprepared. Walt breathed deeply through his nose and blew it out. We are looking at over 80% of the population dying. Elizabeth gasped and grabbed the edge of Walt's desk to steady herself. My God, are you serious? Be that bad? Yes, it is, Liz. People don't realize that stores got food shipments almost daily to restock what they sold. What the ST stores had on the shelves, SHEL, only last for 3 days. It won't last for 3 days without resupply. Uh, Let me change that up. That's not coming out good here. People got so lazy and used to, you know, fast foods and convenience. Hang on, let me get that spell right. Fast foods and quick. Hang on, that's not going to write quick. Quick, easy. That they never up a a decent, that right. You see if I got that, I picked the right. No, that's descent. See what else we got here. Decent decline, fall, drop, descent, slope. No, that's not. Descent. Let's see what that. Yeah, a decent, decent. Men in their homes. Do you how much food? Hang on here. Typing so fast, not getting it right, folks, but I'm getting there. How much food there was in the growing up? There was shells down there too. People got so lazy and used to fast foods and convenience easy shopping from the stores that they never built up a decent pantry in their homes. Do you remember how much food there was in the house when you were growing up? Elizabeth thought for a second. There was always a lot. In the KITC, in the kitchen cupboards, and the root cellar always had a lot, always had lots on the shelves too. Here, hate it when it does that. End. There we go. That's BCA does. Okay. All right. That's because your parents learned not to depend on others for their food. They had they had a big garden, and your mom and grandmother canned a lot from it, and the animals they are they raised. Chickens and pets. Yeah, I hated that part. I looked at the chickens and cows as pets, not food. Not food. I just didn't get it or want to. Okay, let's see if I can get this right. Yeah, I hated that part. Uh, to we all right. All right, hang on here. Oh, okay, so understanding. We have had to EUTC butcher. Been canning, dehydrating. Freeze drying. Of fat trimmings and I gotta look this up here. SUET. Okay, that's the proper spelling. Okay. I don't know how to spell. I'm not sure how to put this. I'm working on it here. Basically, see, we had to butcher a number of cattle that died from uh, breathing the ash, the volcano ash. Sorry, the volcano ash. The ranch foreman has been processing the meat for storage several ways, and mom and grandma and the others have been canning, dehydrating, freeze drying, jerking, and freezing the meat. They have several hundred pounds of fat trimmings and suet in the freezer that they haven't had time to make tallow out of. I think you should go back to your roots. Hang on here, your roots, and relearn what they tried to teach you when you were young. Then you can teach those in your group how to survive. There we go. That works. Then you can go. Then you can teach those in your group how to survive now through, put a comment on there, now through gardening and raising livestock. Hmm. Elizabeth thought for a minute before speaking. Would Sarah allow me to go? Would Sarah allow me to go to the ranch to learn? And could I bring a couple of the others to learn too? That you would need to, and hang on here to, but Okay, there we go. All right. So, let's see what. Okay, so she's. And could I bring a couple others to learn too? I think I think she would, but you would need to talk to the others at the ranch as well about them teaching you first. I think. I think my group has a lot to learn if we are going to survive this, she said. Go ahead and go talk to Grandma and the others, Walt said. All right. Hit save. Don't want to lose all that work. All righty. Oh, wow. Okay. Just look at the time here. So hang on. Is that 196? I go to. That's only 3 pages that I did. Yeah, working it all out. It's 3 pages of that stuff. Yep. November 3rd, 13th day after the passing, Joseph Donaldson called Walt to inform him that he had received word that 2 light platoons and an engineering company would be arriving the next day. He was hoping that Walt, Chris, and Sammy could give them a joint agency talk, including what the county plans are. Um, okay, so give them a joint agency talk, including what the county plans are and how law enforcement and the military are going to be working together to get through the winter and beyond. When Walt and Sammy were on a sat phone call to Idaho's governor, lieutenant governor, state president pro tem of the Senate, and the state speaker of the House, they asked them to mimic the presidential orders for law enforcement for dealing with criminals. They said that the Senate man, Walt and Sammy asked them. STA. State leaders said that the Senate had been debating doing just that for the past week. They also informed Walt that many areas of the Boise metro area, Boise metro area, yeah. They also informed Walt that many areas of the Boise metro area, particularly downtown, were a hotbed of looting and killings, while other areas were being secured by citizen militias, seizing neighborhoods and hanging looters and rapists. The National Guard, state police, county sheriff, and city police hang on, go ahead and tried to maintain security for the Idaho Government Coop facility and nearby VA Medical Center complex and some of the neighborhoods nearby. The federal building and courthouse on the other side of the VA is being held by federal agents, federal employees, and their families. The National Guard held the perimeter, and law enforcement officers try to patrol adjacent neighborhoods and organize them to help with their areas. Legislature families are currently being housed in some of the empty VA buildings. They believe they have enough food to last until the 1st of May. Their big problem is heat. With freezing temperatures already hang on, let me do this. With temperatures already down to getting down to freezing, and some of the gas lines broken by earthquakes. They're not sure how they're going to survive. Walt suggested they start scrounging for propane tanks and camp stoves to cook on, but not, hang on, not to run them for heat. Otherwise, they would get carbon monoxide poisoning. He made a point that they should not burn any wood fires indoors at all. Unless it was wood stove that had proper venting, that had proper stovepipe venting. They should also group together in at the inner rooms and sleep in shifts to take advantage of body heat. And in particular rooms, gather unused mattresses and bedding for insulating those rooms. If they have tents, if they have tents, to set them up for sleeping in group rooms. Put bedding over the tents. Putting bedding over the tents would help trap heat so they could sleep better. Also use mattresses in the tents to insulate them. Insulate those SL sleeping from the cold floors. He reminded them that they should not give out any of their food, any of their supplies, comma, ESPE, especially food, or they'd be overrun by hungry families. They should barter food. They could barter food for things they absolutely need. They absolutely need it. But to always get fair value for the food, such as several cans of food for a propane tank. Never food for free. Food from the National Supply Warehouse was different, but never distribute from there. Always use a National Guard truck to distribute food at different locations each time, and never head back to the supply warehouse. Never distribute daily and change up the number of days between distributions. People try to follow back to the warehouse so that they can rate it. So that they can rate it. They agreed and said they were doing that now after a city warehouse got overrun when the city tried to distribute food from it. Walt also reminded them to have a dozen or so armed officers with the National Guard truck to keep it from getting overrun. And I need to shoot. Really not much there I can do there. Dang it, I wound up with the blank section again. Shoot. See if I can delete. Nope, that ain't gonna do it. Undo that one. Okay, I'm not gonna. All right. Okay, what do we got here? That is supposed to be number 3 heading. There we go. There we go. Get it back up there. There, that looks better. Oh, what do you know? I did fix that. I found out where all the updates were being, the Microsoft updates were being stored on the computer, and I went back and deleted a couple of the Microsoft Office updates from a couple of months ago, and the way it was formatting the headings, and now it's back to the way it's supposed to be, which is better than the screwed up way they messed up with the update they sent out. All right, Toot, take care. All right. Running low. Man, I already drank that much water already today. Jeez. November 4th, more news. Recorded auto message from Walt Rogers to the nation. I'm going to change that to greetings. Greeting. Greetings. I am Walt Rogers, the former sheriff of Adams County, Idaho. I am the new chief marshal of the reorganized federal marshals. For those of you who have been dealing with battling against, or otherwise contending with the motorcycle gang known as Heaven's Devils, this message is important to you. On November 1st, the President of the United States issued Presidential Security Directive AR 003, which states members of the motorcycle club / gang known as the Heavens Devils, due to their plan and actual acts of treason, are no longer citizens of the United States of America and have no rights to due process. Furthermore, they are to be considered enemy combatants and treated as such. In addition, the Geneva Convention does not apply to them. They are to be killed on sight unless there is a need and likelihood that needed information can be extracted from them. Afterwards, they are to be executed. The United States military are to aid local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies in exterminating Heaven's Devils from American soil. This directive has been approved by Congress and upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court. If you have been having troubles with Heaven Devils or other gangs, we need to know so we can compile a list of their attacks, categorize their threat, and make appropriate response. The hunter teams of the federal marshals are being trained at the new Marine base Toon Cavern in Idaho and will soon be dispatched to eliminate these gangs. Currently, the Idaho Rangers are clearing the state of these gangs, and once that is done, they will move on to other states under federal mandate. DHS teams are also being trained to assist federal marshals and the Idaho Rangers. Any former federal agent or other law enforcement officer whose agency or department has been decommissioned and who are looking to continue working in law enforcement, check with any still active agency for information on positions that are open. Hang on. Agency, comma, local, state, or federal, comma. Check with any still active agencies, state, local, or federal, for information on what positions are open. For those wondering, the federal marshals are no longer under the Department of Justice. We will be. Hang on. We will be enforcing law the old fast way, the old West way, like Ahern, Porter Rockwell, and Bass Reeves. If you can do that, come to Idaho. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives has been closed down, and all the laws and rules they created unlawfully limiting ownership of any firearm or accessory by law-abiding adult citizens has been canceled. New national minimum age for buying, carrying, opened or concealed a pistol has been set, and that is now 16 years old. Individual states can lower ages, but not raise the age. For rifles, the new minimum age to buy or carry a of age, and individual states can lower but not raise the age. Safe. The minimum age to be a law enforcement officer is now 16, unless the city police chief or county sheriff feels the need to lower it for their agency for their agency or department. However, laws prohibiting the possession of firearms by convicted felons are still active and enforced. Gang members in possession of a firearm fall under the shoot on sight mandate. The president with Congress has changed the age to enlist in the military from 17 with a high school diploma and parents' permission to just 16 and high school diploma, and added a second entry age of 14 or 15 with parents' permission. We will have more information for you soon. Thank you and stay armed. Now, this next section here, this is where I ended yesterday. So, yeah. I'm going to work on these three highlighted areas here tonight or this afternoon when I have time to kick back, relax, and work on it slowly for you guys. And I will come back tomorrow and read part of that. Now, we're just going to go ahead down here and pick up on November 8th and see if we can get through the, hang on, so that's at 99. So that's only 2 pages for number 8 for the 18th. The 10th is November 10th is a long one. So let's get back up here to November 8th, the 18th day after passing. Walt sat at his desk reviewing the reports from the day before. In the last week, there have been 3 caravans of there have been 3 more caravans of refugees from Boise traveling north. Most of the people kept on traveling through COUN through the county, but a few from each group who saw how well the county was doing decided to stay. It turned out about half of these thought that they were going to get free handouts. When that didn't happen, they began to try to I'm just going to put it, they tried to stir up other refugees and even citizens against county and city government to get more food and supplies. Last night, 6 of the troublemakers tried to break into the DHS office trailers and were shot by 2 of Walt's deputies and a DHS agent. Their families were escorted to the SOUTHE Southern County line with firm instructions never to return, or they would face strict and permanent penalties. What these penalties were never stated, but several people told them they were lucky the sheriff just didn't have them all shot to avoid dealing with them later. Walt wasn't happy about that and had the word spread not to say that again to anyone. The volunteer refugees hang on, I gotta fix this here. All right. Down to 4. All right, I'm not sure who we lost. The volunteer volunteer refugees who are working to salvage materials from destroyed homes and buildings under the guidance of the county's building department and fire department. Did so under the, there we go. All right, now that one makes sense. The volunteer refugees who are working to salvage materials from destroyed homes and buildings, comma, did so under the guidance of the county's building department and fire department. The materials were then being used to build 3-room homes for the winter. These homes had a large kitchen, living room, a bedroom, a bathroom and 1 bedroom for the parents. Children would sleep in the living room. Homes weren't fancy by any stretch of the imagination, but they would keep them warm and dry during the winter. A community laundromat. Hang on, I want to change that. Community laundromats, plural, were built using salvage washers and dryers and in large tents for now, with plans to build wooden ones as soon as I'm going to go ahead and spell that out. As soon as possible. A homemade wood-fired water heater was installed to heat the water and keep the pipes from bursting when temperatures dropped below freezing. They were using one of the DHS grant generators to power the washers and dryers. They set the hours of operations to 4 hours a day, for 4 hours a day. Of operating to conserve diesel fuel and firewood. There was a sign-up sheet so they could schedule the use of the machines. Walt had talked to Randolph Cooper the day before and told him that because he was Chief Marshal of the U.S. Federal Marshals and really couldn't keep being the sheriff, comma, he was wondering since all of Randolph's RANDOLTH Randolph's family was now, Randolph was now here in council. If he wanted his old job back as sheriff. Randolph said he would finish Walt's term if Walt made Jason undersheriff first. That way Jason would be in better position to run when Walt's term was up if Randolph didn't want to run again. Walt smiled and agreed to that. Ugh. And agreed. Kurt called Walt to let him know that the vice president would be staying at their place through the winter into mid-spring. A couple of CH-53 helicopters would be arriving today with modular office containers and delivering them to the Smythe's property. Then the helicopters would move the supply containers for the Navy SEALs and Marine Fourth Forcon. Fourth Forcon from the town to the property. They had set up a secure direct link to the DHS office so the Mitchells didn't have to go into town and Chris didn't have to go out to the Smiths and to the Smythes. Kurt also said that he talked to the county supervisors, and they agreed to acquire the properties north of the current airport to grant title to the Air Force to build a new base in exchange for upgrade to the current airport and to use as much local labor as possible in all construction. They'd be using the 3-mile section of the Weiser River Trail to build the new longer and wider runway. Tomorrow they'd be bringing supplies to the airport to enlarge radar, to enlarge the runway, add radar and communications equipment as well. He added that they received updates from Minot Air Force Base, that while the runway there received no damage, an unlucky meteor hit was devastating to the buildings, and that the base was no longer in operational condition, and surviving people needed to be relocated. They would move everything salvageable to council, including parts of including including salvageable parts of buildings. County crews, including refugees, would start cutting down trees today. Lumber would be used for building refugee and base housing. Since the trail is on the old railroad right-of-way, it had a gravel base to build upon for the runway. The rock quarry heard about the expansion and started producing gravel as fast as they could to beat the winter freeze, F-R-E-E. Where is it at? There it is. Freeze. Get this spelled right. Kurt had been in contact with Joseph and asked to borrow his CBs to help speed up construction so Marine aircraft could use the new runway sooner. He agreed and said that 2 platoons of Army combat engineers had arrived the day before, and one of them would be coming as well. Kurt had called Walt to let him know that Camp Resurrection was setting up a teleconference briefing because they had intercepted 2 chapters of Heaven's Devils and some important VIPs from the gang. Walt and Sarah sat on the conference call, but kept the new federal marshal's avatar up as they listened to the report. Okay, so the full teleconference is contained in the Scout and the Ninja, A Ninja is Silent, Chapter 11. We will get to that in a couple weeks. Maybe I'll go pull from that and read it to you guys tomorrow. All right, so right now, wrong banner. That banner, there we go. I gotta go take care of something for a couple of minutes, and then I'll be back, and we will work on November 10th portion of it, Old Friends, New Lovers, and so I'll be right back in a minute. All right. Got, oh, crap. Hang on. Be right back. I forgot I left the water jug in there when I filled it up. All right. I'm back. Yeah, what's going on here? Got a bunch of new comments here. Oh, yeah. Interesting. So, sometime here in the comments while I was gone, I guess Phelan Clan Wolf said that he was still here, and YouTube blocked it. It didn't even come through to the um, StreamYard chat. They totally blocked it totally from him. Why? Because YouTube stupid idiots. But yeah, when he replied directly to Troop, who asked him if he was still here, he said he was, but it looks like YouTube, yeah, well, YouTube's blocking again. And of course, that comment came through to everybody, and yeah. Made myself a cup of mashed potatoes here real quick so I can eat and keep on working. All righty. So let's get at this. Sarah took a look. You know what? Hang on, let me think here. So this is 200. And starts at 202. Come on, get down there. And this goes to, so this is going to be 26 pages for this one. And I think, let me check over here. Yeah. I'm going to save the 10th for tomorrow since it's already scheduled. What I'm going to try to do here is, let me pull this back for a second. Go here. Great. Oh, I hate it when so Microsoft loaded another update, but they couldn't install it. And when they've been loading updates, it screws through the whole computer. The programs such as Chrome, Edge, Firefox, and Excel, and Word, and PowerPoint reload. Some of them are kind of screwed up. They reload. The Explorer, go to the files. No, it doesn't. It doesn't reload those. I just really hate this when hate it when they do that. Okay, so I need to load that one first. That's supposed to, and it makes it giant. I don't know why the hell it does that. That's small again, and put it over to the side. I got to get some folders open here real quick. All right, this one here goes here. Give me a second, folks. I gotta clean up this mess that Microsoft screwed up. But I already did. I deleted it already. The upload, so or tried to most of it. They're trying to block it so I can't delete their stupid forced security crap, which I don't need. This one here goes over here. This one here. Let's open there. Down. Now I need to have one more here done that has that one there. Goes over there and down. Okay, so now I can find this thing here to go. Scout and the Ninja. It keeps changing the view I have of it. This thing here is details. There we go. Great. Hang on here. Close that. Try this again. Let's go with, I have to go here. Why that didn't transfer, I don't know. Okay, good. This has it in it. All right, I don't know what happened to the other one. I have it here for you just a second. I'm just going through. Okay. Okay, got it here. Okay, so we're going to pick up with the conference call to Arizona for the, rather than just repeating it there, but I'm going to give it to you because that has information that's going to be pertinent coming up here very shortly. All right. So this is in the Scout and the Ninja, Chapter 11, under the subtitle Evening. After dinner, they had another teleconference meeting with Idaho. General Donaldson, Master Gunnery Sergeant Dyer, Master Sergeant Russell were on one camera. DHS Regional SAC Chris Davies, DHS Agent Sal Peters, and DHS Agent Jesse Carter were on another camera. On a third camera, both General Smythes, Captain Scott Byers, Commander Dino Jackson, President Pro Tem of the Senate Karen Mitchell, and Vice President Matt Mitchell were and President Mitchell just as were on the third camera. Just as they were starting, a fourth window opened up with the avatar of a scary burning skull with the words above it, U.S. Federal Marshals, at the bottom, that you may live free. Hang on a second. I'm going to see if I can share that with you. Come on here. That should be this one here. Let me see if I can pull that up. That's going to be under this one here. It's the more images. Hang on, let me take that big and change that to because I know I created it. Drew it up. Did it stay in here? Dang it. I didn't pull it from the other computer. So it's not here. Credit. It's really cool. There's some great artwork drawing on it. Just taking a look-see here to see in case I shifted it over here. No, I didn't shift it over there. Oh, I didn't shift it there. And let me take a look, see here. No. Oh, well. And drop that down. Okay, so let me go ahead and go up here. Boom, there we go. All right, so U.S. Federal Marshals and that you may live free. For Camp Resurrection, they were using the maintenance bay because they had all 29 military officers plus, hang on here, plus PLU, plus First Sergeant Carlos Young and Staff Sergeant Connie Patterson of the P&A section. In addition, they had along with Federal Marshal Charles Finley, Bob Miller in his new position as Sheriff's Militia Commander, Harvey Judd as Jake Jefferson, Dan Robinson, Fredonia City Marshal Jimmy Pratt, Kanab Police Chief Hanson Peel, Kane County Sheriff Brian Albright, Susan Hampton, Monica Jackson, Benjamin and Janet Kimberly, quote, Kimberly, Kimmy Dennis, and off to the side sat three of those they had rescued from the last group: Robert Wiz Tolman, Alice Krager, and Lucy Byer. All right. The first 5 minutes was the report on base improvements, outlook for the winter and spring. Then they reported on the power failure for Cedar City, the former mayor and two city council members trying to deceive the people, and when the mayor was exposed and told that Juby Chan was coming for him, he killed the two council members and then himself. Next, they added the current report on how most of the city and the people have had well, I need to change this. We're turning on each other, and only a couple neighborhoods have, and only in a couple neighborhoods have they banded together and are somewhat safe. Then they reported on Flagstaff, the power failure, the El Tigre gang's attack on the motorsports business and their elimination. Then how the members that weren't on the attack and other gangs members trying to consolidate position of power and their elimination. The mayor and city council member and a city council member making a deal with the El Tigre gang and their arrest and public execution. Some of the neighborhoods are trying to pull together and securing their supplies and homes, while other areas are turning into war zones. Benjamin stood and added that they did rescue a treasure. This is our new foster daughter, Kimberly Dennis. Her parents died 5 years ago, and her grandparents asked us to look after her until it's safe for her to return to them. They found out when they found out that Juby Khan and Super Scout were here, until it's safe to return to them, when they found out that Juby Chan and Super Scout were here. She goes by Kimmy, so we don't get confused. Other window opened up on the screen with only the president showing he was in a Spartan living room. Kimmy, my heart goes out to you and all the others who have and will lose their parents. You are among the luckiest to have been taken in by Super Scout's parents. We are going to do everything we can to make it safe enough for you to go back to your grandparents. Unfortunately, this disaster was far worse than we had planned for, and so it's going to take some time. I understand, Mr. President. She took a breath. I'm using my time here to train with Juby Chan and Super Scout, but they're kind of crazy. But I guess I'm crazy. But I'm crazy too, I guess. If my eldest daughter ever gets her guy to propose, I'm sending them there to learn how to be great parents from the Clarks. Dad, came a shout from off camera. Well, I better go and make peace. He smiled broadly and disappeared. Mr. President, if you're still listening, you may want to wait on making peace. President Lepetamine reappeared with a woman in her early 20s kneeling on the couch facing him, but turning her gaze to the camera. The woman looked shocked to be on the screen. Excuse me, she started to leave. Stay, Kimberly said loudly, then added quieter. This concerns you too. Okay. Her eyes widened. She stopped. Okay, Captain. Kimberly Jackson. The woman's mouth worked up and down, but nothing came out as she stared at the screen, at the camera screen, and slid down to sit next to her father. Kimberly Jackson, a young female voice shouted loudly, Juby Chan! And suddenly a 13-year-old came flying into view as as she landed next to the president. Said you knew Juby Chan? A smile that showed her molars spread across her face. Now you're cool. The president chuckled, as did most of the adults. Kimberly started to speak when a 15 or 16-year-old boy walked over and sat on the couch next to the younger girl. Kimberly sighed. I must apologize, Mr. President. I totally spaced out and forgot that you are a family man, too. Not to forget that my staff has families, President Lepetamain replied. Today we defeated 2 chapters of Heaven's Devils, rescued 23, and reclaimed 3 short-term members. What? Several of those on the call exclaimed. I'll explain, Kimberly replied. From the Stockton chapter, we rescued 5 teenage girls that were being abused. From the Fresno chapter, we rescued 21, including a male community outreach volunteer that was given the choice to join Heaven's Devils or die. 2 other males had joined before word of the asteroid leaked out. Both wanted out once they found out what their plans were. Robert Wiz Tolman, age 22, he stood up, was in the gang for 2 years and was a mechanic, and that's all he did. The chapter didn't care that Robert didn't join in their less than legal activities, because Wiz kept all their motorcycles in perfect condition. But 10 days ago, a couple other members said he needed to prove his manhood, and they gave him Alice Krager, age 17. Alice stood up and said that he had to make a woman of her. Kimberly turned to Alice. Alice, hang on. Would you tell what happened to you once you were taken by Heaven's Devils? 10 days ago, some friends and I were attacked and taken by the Heaven's Devils. Most of us were separated and sold to other chapters. I was kept by the Fresno chapter. I was the luckiest one that I was given to Wiz. I was a virgin when I was given to him, and I still am a virgin. He took me inside his mobile machine shop to his little room and coached me on how to sound like I was being taken. That is where I stayed, except when we ate and when I had to relieve myself. He protected me from other Heaven's Devils. One of the chapter's leaders didn't want me riding in the cab with Wiz or in the back alone, so we rode his motorcycle and someone else drove the truck. When we got to here, Juby Chan led the attack on the motorcycles, and the SUV at the back of the convoy. CAPT captured us and took Wiz to the interrogators to verify our story. What are your friends? 1 was rescued, 2 went over to the dark side and full-heartedly joined the Heaven's Devils, and even killed some other people to prove they were joining for real. Lucy Byer is 16. Lucy, will you tell your story? Lucy took a deep breath and blew it out. 6 of us, 3 boys and 3 girls, were checking out some damaged buildings looking for food and water and anything else we could use when we were attacked by Heaven's Devils. They took us by attack by Heaven Devils. She took a breath and blew it out. I won't go into detail what they did to us, especially the guys. Just think Sodom and Gomorrah. They killed the guys late the next day. Juicy started to cry and sat down. Daddy, can you bring Juby Chen here to protect us? Sandra Lepidamine asked. It's more important that I stay here, Kimberly interjected. But why? She asked, confused. How many Heaven's Devils have you seen there? None yet. We have eliminated over 2,000 here so far, Kimberly stated, causing Sandra to draw a quick breath. And Juby Chen has killed more than half with her katana, Michael added. Wow. And there are 3,500 more coming. Commander Smythe's voice rang out from the side door. The sharp impact of her boots echoed throughout the maintenance bay. We were overly successful beyond a measure today, Mr. President. She walked towards the front with pain and misery right behind her, carrying a large folded tarp. When she got to the front, she walked along the front edge of the first row of tables and stopped in the center of the row. Pain and misery walked in front of her and began opening the tarp. Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, Senator Mitchell, Generals Arsac Davies, and those listening in. We have answers to the missing Heaven's Devils from the Crystal Lake campground collapse. As you recall, 750 were making their way to Canada. 1,500 were known to be in the Las Vegas area at the time of the monsoon and earthquake and lost about 300 members. The rest were supposedly headed to the North Rim via another route. We were hoping that when Hoover Dam failed, those missing were caught in the floods. I guess that did not happen, the president stated. No, Mr. President. 750 that were unaccounted for on the 29th have reported into members of the national chapter that they're heading to Canada as well. But they at first they were headed here, but were slow getting here and were turned around by the floodwaters and decided to go to Canada. They left Laughlin, Nevada to Baker, California, then to Battle Mountain, Nevada, Winnemucca, Nevada, then to Burns, Oregon, and are now in the town of John Day using the Grant County Fairgrounds to stay at while they make repairs. That puts them 210 miles due west of Council via Oxbow and Baker City. And somebody else just came in. Oh, yep. Hey. Please say hi and give us a thumbs up. Plague and Pestilence and Fam led a hooded and bound person to the front of the tables and made him kneel on the tarp. Then they took the tarp off and he blinked against the light. This is the president of the national chapter of Heaven's Devils, Nathan Hemlock, Commander Smythe explained. He has been a fountain of information, and his cohorts have been verifying most of it. A couple of items they have been in mass contradicting. She stepped next to him, grabbed a handful of hair, and twisted his head around so he's looking up into her masked face. Mr. Hemlock, do we have to put you back on the table, or are you going to tell us the truth? Or perhaps I should just give her a call. She held up an antler horn. He tried to shout through the duct tape and struggled to get free of Nora's grasp. Suddenly, another biker came flying through the air and landed with a sickening thud on the outstretched tarp. He too had a hood covering his head. Then the sounds of heavy boots striking concrete sounded, and a black-clad, headless figure stepped into the light. It marched over to the new biker, leaned down, grabbed a handful of hair that was protruding from under the hood, and yanked upwards, dragging him to his feet, and walked him forward until he was near the middle of the tarp. Then the headless figure pulled down on the hair, driving the biker to his knees. When he let go of the biker's hair, he made a guttural sound and patted the biker on the head. The headless figure started to turn to Nora, Commander Smythe, and Nathan Hemlock, then became aware of the projection screen, twisted its torso back towards the screen, and leaned back slightly as a person with a stiff neck. And after a couple seconds, it gave a dismissive wave at the screen and turned towards Nora and walked to her and bent over as if to look at Nathan Hemlock. It freed a silver-colored vertebrae whip from its bag and shoved it in Hemlock's face. Hemlock looked up at the headless figure, wide eyes. Then it reached across Hemlock's face, grabbed Hemlock's. Then it reached across Hemlock's face with its other gloved hand, grabbed hold of the duct tape and a fair amount of facial hair. With a quick move in it removed the tape and hair from Hemlock's face, resulting in a grunt of pain from Hemlock. Dropping the tape and hair in front of Hemlock, it moved back to the biker who had been thrown onto the tarp and stood several feet behind it. All right. Okay, got stupid notifications popping up here. It's not supposed to be showing now. Now, Mr. Hemlock, are you ready to amend your statements? Commander Smythe asked in her British accent. Nodding weakly, he answered yes. Then he looked up and saw who was on the screen, on the projection screen, and smiled. These renegades have been violating my civil rights and the civil rights of my club members. I demand that you order them to release me and my club members immediately, he smirked. Another window opened up in the Secretary of Homeland Security. Mr. President, if I may. Of course, William. On October 22nd, by order of the President of the United States, Presidential Security Directive AR-001, martial law has been enacted in all those who engage in or threaten to engage in acts that undermine the stability of the country, i.e., all murderers, rapists, looters, kidnappers, robbers are to be shot on sight. All other criminals to be held and tried within 12 hours by in-place local, state, or federal authorities. If none are available, the area SAC has authority to act as judge. On October 26th, by order of the President of the United States, Presidential Security Directive AR-002, an update to Presidential Security Directive AR-001 has been enacted. All those who engage in acts that undermine the stability of the country, any state, community, or county, i.e., such as give aid to or makes deal with any and or all murderers, rapists, looters, kidnappers, robbers, are guilty as said rapists, murderers, rapists, looters, kidnappers, and robbers, and are to be arrested and tried within 12 hours by in-place local, state, federal, or local, state, or federal authorities. If none are available, the area SAC has authority to act as judge. Military officers with the rank of general can convene a military court of 3 to 7 officers to act as a panel of judges. On November 1st, the President issued Presidential Directive AR-003, which states members of the motorcycle club / gang known as Heaven's Devils are no longer citizens of the United States of America and have no rights. Hang on. He wants to make that emphasis, and have no rights to due process. Furthermore, they are to be considered enemy combatants and treated as such. In addition, the Geneva Convention does not apply to them. They are to be killed on sight unless there is need and likelihood that needed information can be extracted from them. The United States military are to aid all local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies in exterminating Heaven's Devils from American soil. This directive has been approved by Congress and upheld by the Supreme Court. On October 31st, Walt Rogers resigned as sheriff of Adams County and accepted the position of chief marshal of the newly reorganized federal marshals. Also, after the wedding, I need to change this. That was copied from an earlier piece. That day, Lightning Death has accepted the position of deputy federal marshal. It is their mandate to hunt down and eliminate all members of Heaven's Devils. The president, along with leadership of the Marine Corps, has also tasked Juby Chan, the Ninja Girl, and Archer's Super Scout, aka Captains Jackson Moore, to create the 3rd Four Cons Special Operations Group, the Reapers, to do likewise for the same mandate. All of them have been granted preemptive presidential pardons for any acts they deem necessary to complete this task. Oh, and Eleanor, thank you for you and your team have done and are still doing. So, Mr. Hemlock, you and your gang have no rights at all in any way, shape, or stretch of your imagination. You can't do this, he yelled. We have rights. Before anyone could respond to him, a very screechy and loud violin began playing Chopin's Funeral Dirge. No! Hang on, I want to highlight that. No, keep her away from me, Hemlock screamed as he looked around in panic. You have to keep her away from me. A loud, screechy, girlish cackle erupted from the back of the bay, making everyone wince in discomfort. Earplugs, everyone. Earplugs, everyone. Specialists, make sure the sound buffer is engaged for those on the screen. Buffer is engaged and working. We have a buffer set at 75 decibels so she won't blow out your speakers, Nora said as she put in her earplugs. Who are you talking about? Before Nora could answer, a very loud and bad rendition of some unknown Gaelic tune started playing on an out of tune violin. Keep her away, I'll tell you the truth. Just keep her away from me. Hemlock's panic leaped into high gear as he frantically looked around for some unseen nemesis. Just then, the banshee, guided past the headless figure, grabbed the hood off the head of the other biker, revealing it to be Richie Charles. All the while, she continued playing on the violin with her other hand. As she went by Hemlock, she threw Richie's mask in Hemlock's face. When she got to the end of the first row of tables, she stopped her forward movement, and with a long lingering note, then playing the music and moving backwards as if drawn by some invisible hand, she passed by Hemlock. As she passed by Hemlock, she pirouetted and struck out with her bow hand as if her hand. With her bow hand, and though her hand never touched him, a bloody lash appeared on his face. Her strike occurred in time with a slight pause in the music, which started again when she drew her unseen bow across the invisible violin she held. Now facing in the direction of her travel, the banshee proceeded to Richie and circled him 3 times before stopping and looking him intently in the eyes for several seconds before she struck out at him as well. Just like when she struck Hemlock with an invisible bow, the music paused and a bloody lash mark appeared on Richie's face. She began to slowly float away from Richie with a haunting girlish giggle, then gracefully turned away from him. She glided on, moving past the camera when she suddenly stopped. When she stopped, the music abruptly stopped as well. She slowly glided back to the camera and looked at it intently. This was the first time those at the other locations got a good look at her face. Her extremely pale skin, hang on, I'll put an additive in here. NEA, nearly white skin was offset by her eyes, nostrils, and corners of her mouth. This image was framed by her deep orangish red hair that was wild and untamed and twisted and not was with twists and knots of one who had been in a wild storm. She stared at the camera, then at the screen, back to the camera, as this was the first time she'd seen or possibly seen herself, because there was a window on the screen that showed all those in the room, and her face filled that image. After several seconds, the banshee turned to Michael. She pointed at the window the president was in, held up 2 fingers. Then she patted her hand like she was patting on the heads of the children and made to shoo them away. Michael got the message. Mr. President, the banshee wants Sandra and Ron to leave the room for a while. They don't need to see what she can do, what she is going to do. Okay, things are going to get exciting here, folks. No, don't let the she demon do it. I'll tell you the truth, please. Hemlock screamed again. Richie was trying to do the same, but his mouth was still covered with was still duct taped shut. Sandra, Ron, go help your mother for a little bit. Their father said. Their father said. Oh, they both complained as they left the room. Leaving the president and their older sister on the COUs on the couch. As soon as they were gone, the banshee nodded to the homeless, to the headless figure, and guided away from him, and glided away from him, and around the far side of the tables towards the back of the bay. The headless figure grabbed the glove full of Richie's hair, and with the other grabbed the duct tape and some beard and ripped it off. Now, correct your lies, Dora demanded. All right, Hemlock breathed out with a hint of disdain, but this isn't right, really, and I suppose your cannibalism is right? The head snapped around to look at her in shock that she knew. Yes, we know, the venom in her voice dripping and clung to every word like syrup. Dozens of your gang members have admitted it. Some have even bragged about it, like Mr. Charles there. He bragged about eating little children during sex. Richie, you brain dead, stupid son of a. The Banshee scream cut him off as she reappeared behind Richie and grabbed his head with both hands pressed to his temple. He stiffened as he opened his mouth and eyes wide in pain and tried to scream, but nothing came out. He began to convulse at high speed, seeming to be mechanic with it at a high speed that seemed to be mechanical instead of human. A searing heat built up within. His head, HEAD, his ears ruptured and blood began to flow from them. His eyes burst forth from their sockets and more blood poured from them. Poured from his and more blood poured from his ears, nose, and mouth as his brain began to liquefy. A few seconds later, his face erupted outward, covering the tarp in skin, blood, bone, and brain matter. Most of those on the call struggled not to vomit at the unexpected event. None of them could have guessed why Hemlock was so afraid of Banshee. Now they knew and understood his fear. Understood his fear. The Banshee pointed at Hemlock as she floated away. Talk, Commander Nora, Commander Smythe, parenthesis Nora. For those that missed the first book, Nora is, how do I put this? Nora is a teenage girl best friend of Kimberly Jackson, and she is pretending to be Commander Smythe. And there's a big back history behind that, but when it says Nora in parentheses, it's talking about her. It's not that she is really a commander, but she is pretending to be one, and everybody thinks she is who she says she is. Talk, Commander Smythe, Nora ordered for several minutes. Hemlock rattled off what he had lied about and what was really the truth. Plague and Pestilence reached down and hooked a hand under his armpits, picking him up and walking him several feet further out into the tarp and turning him around to face Nora and the gathering of officers and others then stepped away from him. When Secretary Daniels quoted the President's Security Directive AR-003 after the sentence, they are to be killed on sight unless there is a need and likelihood that needed information can be extracted from them. Hang on. He left the next sentence out. Afterwards, they are to be executed. Thank you for betraying your gang. The headless figure's whip lashed out and wrapped around Hemlock's throat. Any last requests? After a couple seconds, she added, "Oh, that's right. You don't get any." The headless figure flicked their whip, and Hemlock's head launched from his shoulders and flew through the air to be caught by the headless figure. The headless figure turned the head so that its eyes were facing it. "Surprise, bitch! I am the Doulahan, and this 16-year-old girl just killed you." The eyes blinked and the Doulahan tossed the head down by its body. The ladies of hell were joined by several of the militia the tarp over the bodies and carrying it out quickly. Um, yeah. A slightly pale President Ronald William Lepetame tried to formulate a response to what he witnessed. As you saw, it turns out that most of heaven's devils have a fear of the supernatural deep in their psyche. They fear the Banshee and the Doulahan more than the Red Assassin and myself with our tools, even with the glowing hot brass soldering iron. That was quite an impressive show, General Candace Smythe said. I know a few interrogators that would like to watch your team work. Dad, can we come back in yet? Sandra's voice came from the background and on the president's feed. Nora nodded. All right, you can come back. Bring me a glass of water, please, the president said. Questions? Nora asked, tongue in cheek. For several seconds, no one said anything. Hang on. Then there was a slight cough. Lance Corporal Mary Donaldson stepped into view next to General Donaldson. General, if I may. Proceed, General Donaldson said. I have a two-part questions. Are the identities of Dullahan and Banshee being kept classified? And if not, are you willing to show how they work? Mary asked. The Doulahan stepped forward and faced Nora. May I, boss? It's up to you. I take it you are of Irish descent by use of "un" instead of "the" in stating our names. Yes, though we are 5 generations from Mother Ahern, Mary replied. I will not give the history of the Doulahan legend, but I'm the same age as herself. Misspelled that. As herself, 16. My name is Darla O'Flaherty. Flattery. I can't even pronounce. I picked a real Irish name for this. O'Flaherty. And I was rescued by Juby Chan and allowed to become An Doulahan. She gestured to the side, and 3 teenage girls wearing specialist patches of the militia hurried over to her and began helping Darla to remove her outfit. First, the coachman's cloak came off, then the satchel with the whip, then the false shoulders and upper torso. The front is a very sheer fabric that allows me to see out, and since there's no light on the inside, no one can see in. The frame for the shoulders has a head brace, so I don't turn my head, and that adds to the rigid movements, which gives me a more spooky aura. And the whip, it is a weather whip with a piano wire core that is secured to the stainless steel tailbone on the end. The first 2/3 from the handle are painted plastic vertebrae. The last third are cast high carbon steel, polished and sharpened razor sharp. My gloves are heavy leather over chainmail gloves, so I don't cut myself looping it back up. And the Banshee, Mary asked, how did she do what she did? Science, Nora answered, or something else, came a highly distorted voice from the back. A highly distorted voice from the darkness at the back of the bay. What do you mean? General Candace asked in response to the confusion expressions of Nora's and others on the screen. I can do things that don't seem to have an answer in silence. Like what? Like my voice, how I move, making the air move, making air solid, the Banshee's replied, getting softer. Can you please show me? Sandra Lepetamain asked. The banshee, with her arms out to the side, glided forward along the rows of tables where everyone was seated, like a child playing, like a child playing. Yeah, we need to put ing in there. Playing at being an airplane. At the front, she turned and glided smoothly over to Commander Smythe. Nora, who was 5 feet 8 inches, was 5 feet 8 and a half inches tall. Normally stood about 4 inches taller than Banshee, aka Tempest O'Flaherty, who was 5 feet 5 inches. Nora in her combat boots and the Banshee on her rollerblades would be almost about the same height, but the Banshee was now about 4 inches taller. What the bloody hell? Nora exclaimed in a heavy British accent, and the Banshee rose several more inches and then glided away from Nora a couple feet. You're floating, Nora practically shouted. I thought only Kimberly could do that. The Banshee floated back down to the floor. That was the highest I have been able to go so far. When did this start? Kimberly quickly interjected. Q section started working on electronic items to help me be the Banshee. They discovered that they could make high-powered unidirectional speakers from some of the rare mineral magnets from the meteor pieces. Since I was wearing my mom's brooch choker, she reached up and touched the black velvet choker with a large black amethyst stone in a silver setting. They made a mini microphone using the same rare mineral magnets that fits behind it, and it was connected to the high-powered speakers in my bracelets and corset. Anyways, about a week ago, I know I could do a low voice that could break a coffee cup and mugs and plates without the system being turned on. Batman. She smiled and gave a little chuckle. And the floating? Kimberly asked. They hyped up my off-road rollerblades with motors so I could start and stop without looking like I was rollerblading. But it was 2 days ago when Mr. Ahern made this crown. She pointed to a short, dark violet steel grayish band with several black or dark purple stones from non-radioactive cobalt type material he found in some of the meteorites. He said the stones are a type of black tourmaline crystal, also from a meteor his wife had put in her stone tumbler. They seem to be magnetic at times and not at other times. Anyways, after wearing it for a couple hours, I found I could move the air around me, causing paper cups to blow over. I liked it so much, I slept with it on that night. The next morning, my air telekinesis was a lot stronger. I didn't make it till I took it off the shower, and my power was almost gone. When I put it back on, my power came back, maybe a little stronger. She looked at those on the screen carefully. Since then, I haven't taken it off, and my powers are getting stronger, and new ones are showing up. New ones? The president inquired. My lash. At least that's what I call it. She fidgeted nervously. I can make the air solid. That's what I used to cut Hancock's face when I floated by him and made it look like I hit him with an invisible bow. It was solidified air. I wondered how you do that, Nora stated. This morning I found out This morning I found out not only could I move myself around without using the motors on the roller blades, but I could at times float an inch or two. That's how I was able to go across the tarp without making any sound, she sighed. After Commander Smythe reacted to me looking into her eyes, I raised up more as I backed away. That was my highest float, Banshee explained. Aren't you worried? Aren't you worried about the meteor? Aren't you worried about what the meteor magnets are doing to you? Vice President Mitchell asked. Yes, a little, but if the information we are getting from the Gobin Jacker blackguards, I can't pronounce the Irish term, the Gaelic terms right, helps to eliminate them. And once it's done, I will not be needed as Banshee anymore. I can go back to being just a girl looking for. And I can't pronounce. I'm sorry. I actually went and got this translated. This is ancient Gaelic for Mo Murindillis, with to whom I can have many ballas. What is with the heavy Irish accent and Gaelic? Nora asked in her British accent. Huh? You were just speaking in very heavy Irish accent and speaking Gaelic mixed with English. Why would I be doing that? The Banshee asked in heavy concern in her voice. What does Mo Murindillis mean? Kimberly asked. Darla O'Flattery snickered. It means my own true love. Darla! The Banshee shouted in a voice that made everyone winch. Banshee, Kimberly snapped. Stop using the voice. I turned it off, Banshee protested. I hit the remote power cutoff when she said she had been floating, Corey Kirby said. The power to the voice modulator should be off. He said as he walked over to her with two teenage girls wearing specialist patches of the militia, and a female lieutenant followed. Corey went behind the Banshee and moved her hair to get the back of her neck, to get to the back of her neck. Wait a minute. The throat microphone is unplugged, he said with some concern. One of the specialists spoke. The voltage probes and speakers on the right glove are connected, so are the ones on the left glove, the other specialist says. Lieutenant Valerie Kimberly spoke up, but the body speakers are disconnected, and the modulator's power unit is disconnected. Then how did she? Nora began. She did in a distorted voice with a heavy Irish accent. It was also deeper and more strained than before, yet still non-threatening and young, but not childlike. I did. And who may ask, are you? Mary spoke up. The Banshee looked up, and it seemed like there were two sets of faces mixed together. Her eyes were now slightly glowing yellowish green. A paltry smile crossed her face. I be Tempest, daughter of Blaine McCallaghan, and I was shamed by Cutler McAulfrey, son of Olaf the Invader. From that shaming, I bore a daughter. When Cutler found out that I had born a child, he demanded I marry him. I and my family refused him. Several days later, I was beaten and killed by himself and his brothers at night, and I became Banshee. What is your purpose in possessing this body? Oh, sorry, stretch. I can force a bond with a descendant of mine who is of a namesake and wears my stone, or a descendant of mine who knows of me and calls me while wearing the Banshee stone. The Banshee's hand touched the black velvet choker and the large black stone amethyst in a silver setting around her neck. Please don't make her remove it. In over 2,000 years, I've only been able to connect with 8 of my descendants, and feel what it is to be alive again. I will teach her to use the powers of the Banshee Stone to help you fight against these evil ones you call heaven's devils. What is the longest you've been bonded to one of your descendants? Mary asked cautiously. A day of constant bonding. The longest relationship was 35 years with Tempest Merrick and 15 years with her daughter, Bethany Donaldson, and 8 years with her daughter, Mary Hawkins. The Banshee sighed. That is when rumors of witches was spreading. I felt it was safer not to bond for a while. And the last time you bonded was when? The 1660s. Her face went dour. That was only for a couple times to warn the family that British slave traders were grabbing teen boys and girls and shipping them off to the Americas. They didn't listen. I find this all hard to believe, Regional Special Agent in Charge Chris Davies interjected. In all my years of investigating events, I've seen a lot of odd things, but I've never come across anything supernatural. Everything is scientifically verifiable. Yes, science governs the universe, but very little of the universal laws of science is known by mankind. I have learned much over these 2,000 years, and the one thing that stands out is that there is much more to learn than mankind can imagine in our wildest dreams, including what is beyond your limited eyesight. And those things are called magic or supernatural. Then she looked at Lieutenant Kirby. Take the power unit and the speakers off, please. She held her arms out to the side. And the glove units and cables, but leave the meteorite bracelets. When they were done, she spoke again, but not to those watching. Tempest O'Flaherty, will you trust me? Tempest O'Flaherty's voice answered back. I will if you promise me I will not be hurt. We are going to float a little higher and around the room. Nothing too fancy, answered the voice of Tempest Cunningham. Just let me control our movement. Don't try to move us in any direction. Okay, Tempest O'Flaherty responded. So I just relaxed and you will do your magic? Science, Tempest McConaughey voice corrected softly. Tempest O'Flaherty's arms lifted up, and when they were almost level with her shoulders, she began to float upwards. Let me do it, Tempest McConaughey voice spoke softly. Then they began to rotate to a laying position and look like an airplane or a superhero flying, and they started to move about the bay 8 feet in the air. After making 2 laps around the table, pouring and rotated to a vertical position and lowered to the floor. There are a few more skills I can teach Tempest O'Flaherty, Tempest Cunningham voice said softly. Tempest Merrick was talented with the ways of the Druids and could pass unnoticed even when not wearing the Banshee Stone, and thus without my help. But her daughter, Bethany Donaldson, was quick to learn the breath of fire and ice and use them without the Banshee Stone or me. Bethany's daughter, Mary Hawkins, mastered most of the Banshee Stone's powers and could use them without the stone. Suddenly they saw Tempest McConaughey's left hand and arm separate from Tempest O'Flaherty's left hand and arm, then reach across and took hold of Tempest O'Flaherty's right hand and step out of her, but held on to Tempest O'Flaherty's right hand. Tempest, we must maintain firm contact or it'll take me years to reconnect with the stone. Tempest O'Flaherty said, nodded, I understand. Why are you showing this and telling us some of your weaknesses, Lieutenant General Candace Smythe asked. Because I be lonely. 'Tis been nigh on 400 years since I've been able to talk with people. I understand the need to have friends, so I understand the need to have friends you can talk to and share your wants and secrets with, Mary said with heartfelt emotion. T-E-M-P-E. Tempest sighed. True friends would help me figure out how to move on. Just don't move on until we have a chance to talk face to face in 11 days, Mary said. At Captain Jackson's wedding, of course. Corporal, you seem to have a specific line of questions. Sorry, I get right. What's on your mind? General Donaldson asked. Genealogy, sir, Mary answered. In finding the mother of Dorcas McClanahan Sepatch and grandmother of Eric Spatchath McDullan, or more commonly known as Donaldson, and daughter of Blaine McCallahan. If you are looking for she whose name was blotted out from all records when the Banshee first appeared and killed Cutler McAuliffe and the other sons of Olaf the Invader, that would be me. Tempest, daughter of Blaine McHonahan. I am Mary Beth Donaldson, one of twin daughters of Joseph Donaldson. We are your proud descendants through Eric. I look forward to your arrival and hearing more about my descendants. And that is the part of the teleconference that is taking place in the Scout and the Ninja. Hit save on that. And it's trying to save. And that's saved. And I can go ahead and close that. Okay, it's now 12 o'clock. We got 4 people in here watching. All right. So, as you can see, there are going to be major crossovers between against the Wind group there in Idaho and the Scout and the Ninja group down there at the North Rim of the Grand Canyon. So, and there'll be a lot more coming up here that we'll be finding out about here in the next several days. So tomorrow, we're going to finish off Chapter 3 with November 10th, Old Friends. We may or may not get into the first bit of Chapter 4, Snowfall, and all the fun stuff that comes there. But just to be sure, all right, so this starts here on page 202. Come on. And this ends on 228. So that's only 26 pages. So we'll probably get into Chapter 4 here with Winter Storms. Veterans Day, the 11th. Yeah, there'll be some interesting things coming up there then too. Almost forgot. So we may not go into Chapter 4. After we finish off this, we may go back to the where was it here? Yeah, we'll go back because I'm going to be working on writing tonight, this afternoon tonight, and filling out flushing out some of Sarah and Danny's sniper training. Benny and Williana upgrading Sarah's armor, and Sarah making a midweek visit back to the ranch and having a night with her husband in the middle of her sniper training. All right, so that's what's coming up here. And let me get over here. So that's going to be working on here for the rest of the day and some tomorrow. I've got a couple spots where I've gone along and I've hit a writer's block, so I skipped over it, which is what happened with those the lines there. And I went on to just to continue on the story. I kind of knew what I wanted to say back then, if I wasn't sure how to draw it together. And I deleted a lot. I tried to type and delete stuff and everything else. I got it now figured out how I'm going to work it. And so I will get that hopefully finished up tonight. And we can cover that and the rest of the last of chapter 3 here. All right. So with that, tonight on Camp Patton Family Compound for the Monday Night Fireside Chat, we're going to be talking about canning lamb. And then we're going to move on to freeze drying it and all the other things, other ways that you can do of preserving lamb and make it retain its taste. All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, and I'll see you hopefully later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern for the Monday Night Fireside Chat. All right. Take care.